Kaweche the son. All Dr. Kaunda's children look at me as their father. Dr. Kaunda was my comrade, my friend. I don't know how many things. So it's a big loss. It's a painful situation.
It's a sad event. We are mourning. This family, the Kaunda family, we know them. Some of us, we grow up with them. And these were people who were role models of festive families, the way they conducted themselves.
We have lost the true son of the soil. Kaweche was a humble gentleman who never took the position he had as son of the former president to extremes. He decided to work for himself. He created a wonderful network of friends, which shows the kind of a person that he was.
Emotional tributes from the children of the late Kaweche Kaunda stood out as they described their father as a loving parent, mentor and pillar of strength, who dedicated his life to family and service.
I'll end with this. Last year, Dad and I took a trip across the country. We had 24 hours together, just us. And we had a lot of intimate conversations, which I'm happy to keep just between the two of us. But we spoke a lot about my grandparents, our grandparents, and about death. And I remember I asked him if he was afraid to die. And he laughed. He said, "Why do you always ask me that?" And I was confused. He told me from the time I was a child, I would always ask him that question. And looking back, I don't think it was so much wanting to know if he was afraid to die. It was more me projecting my own fear of his death. And I guess I just wanted some comfort.
The burial that followed brought a final farewell, with mourners celebrating a life remembered for integrity, humility and compassion. The former Republican president's son was born in June 1959 and then died on the 9th of April at the age of 6.
Ministry of Information and Media Permanent Secretary Tabo Kawana has urged broadcasters in Kasama to exercise caution in the content aired on television and radio. This follows a courtesy call on the Kasama District Commissioner, where Mr. Kawana raised concern over some content, warning that failure to regulate programming could attract sanctions from the Independent Broadcasting Authority. He emphasized the need for media houses to adhere to broadcasting guidelines and ensure content is properly vetted to avoid negative consequences. Mr. Kawana has since called for professionalism and compliance among broadcasters in the region. More details from this report.
Kasama also allow me to recognize the presence of our officials from the provincial administration and of course the presence of the Director General and the delegation that we have come with from the IBA in Lusaka. Our coming to Northern Province today is part of our efforts going around the country in all the provinces to ensure that in line with our mandate, we are able to meet the stakeholders of that which we do, which is disseminating information to the public. Now the information that we disseminate to the public is not just a given, but it is factual information, void of misinformation and disinformation. And that is why it is important for us to get onto the ground and engage with the media houses so that we are able to agree with one another that the information we give the Zambian populace is also, number two, in line with the conditions of the license which they obtained from the broadcaster. We are from the regulator. We are in a time when elections are around the corner, and therefore there are a lot of overzealous people that will take to the airways and say a lot of things that may not.
Government has introduced travel and tourism as a standalone subject in secondary schools under the 2023 Zambia Education Curriculum Framework as part of the efforts to equip learners with practical skills and enhance employment opportunities. Minister of Education Douglas Siakalima said the initiative aims to empower young people to actively participate in the tourism sector while promoting Zambia's rich cultural heritage. He noted that aligning education with industry demands is key to unlocking the country's tourism potential and ensuring sustainable economic growth. Dr. Siakalima further said government will introduce tourism education clubs in both primary and secondary schools to spark early interest in tourism careers among learners. The remarks were delivered on behalf of President Hakainde Hichilema during the 4th Travel, Hospitality and Tourism Education Summit held at the Mulungushi International Conference Center. More details from this report.
Among those children, one of them is going to be a general manager of a certain hotel. But they are out of school. So I see from a different angle. So that we bring out children in school about teachers, we bring many teachers. My mind is those who are such those who are not trained in hospitality industry. This is the thing.
The Non-Governmental Gender Organizations Coordinating Council has welcomed the enactment of the Criminal Procedure Code Amendment Act No. 4 of 2026, which makes sexual offences non-bailable. NGOCC Executive Director Anne Anamela says the move is a major step towards strengthening the country's fight against gender-based violence. She says offences such as rape, defilement and incest are serious human rights violations, and removing bail will help prevent suspects from interfering with investigations or intimidating witnesses. More details from this report.
Those who are milling the jobs in the country, you will hear us talk about the 8th National Development Plan and the pillars therein. And so the pillars that we always refer to, the key pillars, will be the economic transformation and job creation agenda. Where else, if not in a moment like this, as we talk about job creation, we're talking about impact funds and bringing the business community together. The other one is the human factor, the human development factor, which is another pillar, because we will not achieve our agenda without taking care of ensuring that we have configured our human development factor, human capacity properly, skills and everything else, including how we take care of them at industry. That the industrialization agenda that you are pushing today can only work well if it goes hand in hand with the promotion.
President of the International Organization of Employers, Jacqueline Mungo, has paid a courtesy call during her visit to Zambia, engaging with the United Federation of Employers of Zambia. The meeting focused on strengthening collaboration between international and local employers, promoting private sector growth and addressing labor-related challenges. Ms. Mungo emphasized the need for strong partnerships to support economic development, while the UFEZ reaffirmed its commitment to representing the interests of employers in Zambia. We take our first commercial break, and when we return, we come back with international news.
Event matters because you matter most. At Event Matters, we turn your special moments into unforgettable experiences. As a leading event management company, we provide everything you need to host a flawless event. From special marquee tents accommodating up to 5,000 guests to seamless catering services, including quality cookery and elegant glassware, we've got you covered every step of the way. Visit us at plot number 8/12 Garden, corner of Manchinchi and Garden Road. Call us today on 0977 696 159 or 0977 717 013 or 0977 695-623. Let Event Matters bring your vision to life, because you matter most.
Agriculture has always been the foundation of our nation. Today, technology is transforming the way we grow, harvest, and feed the continent. Where farmers meet innovation, where industry meets opportunity, and where agriculture meets global markets. Agritech Expo brings together government, innovators, farmers, and investors. Join us at Agritech Expo 2026. Technology, transformation, trade. Be part of the future of African agriculture.
Ona itaya ateswa mama ya zandaimwe ona itaya adidati kaleza itaya ona
ekadida banjo banjo ekadida banjo banjo ekadida banjo
Welcome back, and now international news. Lebanon and Israel are set to hold the first direct diplomatic talks in decades today in Washington, following the more than a month of war between Israel and the Hezbollah militants. But while the talks may be historic, the Israeli government has been mostly ambivalent towards the outcome. We have more insight as France 24's correspondent Noga Tanopolsky gives more details.
It's unclear whether there's any hope or if this is all just a kind of an exercise to make the White House happy and feel that at least some negotiations are moving ahead. On the positive side, this is the first time in modern history that Lebanon and Israel are engaged in direct talks, first time ever. And so that's an historic possibility. The Israeli government has shown itself to be extremely ambivalent, and I'm being generous. Initially, the Israeli government made it clear that these talks would amount to nothing, and that basically they were doing it as a kind of gesture towards Donald Trump, not towards Lebanon. And as you said, the prime minister all along has made it very clear to Israel in a series of public statements that the presence of Israeli soldiers in Lebanon is not going to end anytime soon, that this is permanent. He has allowed his ministers to speak of an occupation of a huge, unprecedented swath of southern Lebanon. So none of this would lead one to think there's any hope. On the other hand, the prime minister is really in a bit of a corner vis-a-vis the Israeli public. And when he keeps talking about a military presence in Lebanon, that has been heard by the Israeli public as eternal war. And since that message doesn't seem to be going over very well, just in the last 2 or 3 days, messaging from the Israeli government has taken a different tack and has said, we're not negotiating over Hezbollah, we're negotiating peace with Lebanon, as if a sort of peace with Egypt that Prime Minister Menachem Begin did in 1979 were an in the offing. So it's going to depend on the Israeli side almost entirely on the Prime Minister himself, who has appointed 2 cronies very close to him, very loyal to him, to be involved in these negotiations, the Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Yechiel Leiter, and his kind of right-hand man, Ron Dermer. And we're going to have to see, I'm afraid some of this will depend on what the Prime Minister...
In more international news, in the capital of the Democratic Republic of Congo, dozens gathered at what is known as a standing parliament. Some believe the country's president is using the gatherings to press for constitutional change to allow him a 3rd term in the role. More details from this clip.
In the DRC's capital, dozens gathered at what is known as a standing parliament. Among the crowd were supporters of the presidential party. According to observers, the gatherings are being used to test and champion certain ideas from those in power. Some spoke of the conflict in the country. In fact, when we finish war in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo, that will be the moment when we change the constitution. All those things Kabila said, that there was a risk of Sudanization, that will not happen here. We're united. The Congolese people are united. Some observers believe the country's president is exploiting the seemingly spontaneous gatherings to press for constitutional change to allow him a third term in the role. Not everyone in the crowd said this was a priority. We don't need that term in office, that third term. What we want first is for there to be peace. When the war's over, that's when we'll talk about that term calmly. If it's a matter of looking at how we should move forward on new foundations, that is what we're seeking. The current constitution is a bill of sale. Our country has been sold. Now we Congolese want to take back our country by changing the constitution. That's all it is. That's the motive, the justification. That is what matters. The tradition of standing parliaments dates back to the 1970s. It was a way to challenge the rule of dictatorship.
We go for our second commercial break. Stay with us as we have sports news when we return. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. So now for your sports news. Football analyst Lawrence Muluku says the Zambia women's national football team have a positive chance of achieving a good result against the highly rated Brazil women's national football team if they raise their level of effort and maintain discipline throughout the match. Muluku noted that while Brazil remain one of the strongest sides in women's football globally, Zambia has in recent years shown significant growth, competitiveness and improved tactical awareness. He emphasizes that the Copper Queens must be more aggressive in transition, tighten their defensive structure and take advantage of scoring opportunities if they are to trouble these South Americans. He added that consistency and concentration for the full 90 minutes will be key, warning that any lapses could be punished by Brazil's experienced attacking lineup. For more, we have Lawrence in this clip.
So, talking about the match, looking at where we are coming from, with the background of our organization and all, I think we expect somewhat a defeat, but the only thing that we are hoping for is to see some improvements in our performances as a team. Looking at the fact that at least we now have had everybody in camp for quite some time, and that 4-0 defeat should have taught us one or two things. And, hopefully our technical bench has sat down to look at what we can work on and improve. Because remember, we have the Women's Africa Cup of Nations coming up soon. We hope that we use this as a building block and see how best we can prepare the girls and ensure that they are ready for the WAFCON. At the end of the day, yeah, it's Brazil we are playing, and it's a very good side, one of the best in the world, and we expect somewhat a defeat, but I'll be encouraged if I see an improvement.
Well, that analysis, courtesy of Lawrence Sports, sums up the news for tonight. But before we go, a recap of the top stories. ECZ to announce 70 new constituencies. Kaweche Kaunda put to rest amid emotional tributes. Kawana calls for media content regulation in Kasama. And in international news, Lebanon and Israel to hold first direct diplomatic talks. While in sports, Copa Queens can challenge Brazil with more effort. Thank you so much for staying with us on Topstar Channel 114, Facebook, Bmtv Channel 114, on YouTube as Bmtv Zambia, and online at www.bmtvzambia.com. We truly appreciate your company. And of course, a big shout out to our amazing production team behind the scenes, making sure this news bulletin was possible. Aldrich Kampamba on transmission, Douglas Banda on camera 1, Jackson Tembo on camera 2, and our social media handler, Innocent Muller. Please do have a good evening.
Agriculture has always been the foundation of our nation. Today, technology is transforming the way we grow, harvest, and feed the continent. Where farmers meet innovation, where industry meets opportunity, and where agriculture meets global markets. Agritech Expo brings together government, innovators, farmers, and investors. Join us at Agritech Expo 2026. Technology, transformation, trade. Be part of the future of African agriculture.
Event matters because you matter most. At Event Matters, we turn your special moments into unforgettable experiences. As a leading event management company, we provide everything you need to host a flawless event. From special marquee tents accommodating up to 5,000 guests to seamless catering services, including quality cookery and elegant glassware, we've got you covered every step of the way. Visit us at plot number 8/12, Garden, corner of Manchinchi and Garden Road. Call us today on 0977 696 159 or 0977 717 013 or 0977 695 623. Let Event Matters bring your vision to life because you matter most.
Tula